Katsuki Bakugo. He's mad. Like, mad, you know? You call him the wrong thing and he's immediately sulking, crosses his arms and looks at you with a glare before snapping at some kind of rough "Oi," or even "Say that again," to let it be known that he's unhappy with your wording. If you immediately laugh and correct yourself, he sort of understands that you're joking and may even find it slightly endearing, if not worthy of return teasing. And if you don't, he's both glaring at you and pouting at you until you do, and sometimes even grumpily reminding you of what you should be calling him, which is either his first name or a pet name and literally nothing else, or holding a grudge until you seriously apologize and begs him to kiss you to make up for it. He loves to see you asking by making a kissy face at him, especially when he can refuse and tease you for it. Things change, however, if you're not doing it to be playful or as a way to get his attention. Even two would react very similarly, by glowering and instantly correcting you. If you use his last name during an argument, warning bells immediately start going off in his head. Correct yourself immediately. He's still frustrated by the fighting, but he calms down just the tiniest bit and rationalizes that you don't hate him. If you don't, he's doing everything in his power to get you to give in to him, which usually just ends up with him grabbing you and turning things sexual in order to punish you and remind you of exactly who he is, which is your boyfriend, not some random classmate. You definitely get frustrated, feeling like it's being compared to an extra, not even worthy of being called by their first name, especially by someone whom you love and loves him. I doubt you know how to truly express this though, which is why I instead opt to just fuck your brains out while reminding you. I honestly don't know. I definitely think Bakugo would be the guy who most bothered by this. He probably thinks that once you get to the first name basis stage, reverting back to the last name is disrespectful and mean that you don't trust him or may even want to distance yourself. So when you pull this on him, it's not unlikely that he'd think it's a sign of something maybe being wrong. Mostly due to the recognition that you even call him Katsuki in the first place, but also because it's a sign of real intimacy that he doesn't allow anyone. Like, even though Deku calls him Kacha and the Baku Squad jokes around him with that, no one except you really calls him by his first name. Also, being called Bakugo by his romantic partner probably makes him feel like an old man. Don't do that to him. Wouldn't recommend. 1 out of 10. Izuku Midoriya. You call Deku by his last name, and he probably doesn't even notice until after it's been a couple of hours. Dude's probably so used to being referred to that by his classmate that if he's even remotely caught up in his thought, which is actually kind of a lot, he probably doesn't bat an eye. It's funny to tease him at first, but after it seems like he doesn't even care what you call him. It's just literally slightly irritating to watch him not even notice that you won't call him something sweet or goofy. Give it some time though, and he'll finally get there. Especially if he's finished all his work and he's finally come to cuddle you only to be greeted with the title Midoriya. Full stop. It's like, Midoriya? With his bro quirk and everything. And all you can do is huff and roll your eyes as if you haven't been calling him that all day. Of course, it's only after all this that he'll notice the frustration. But once he does, he's pestering you until you reveal that it seems like he doesn't even notice when you do stuff like that. If you don't end up explaining, however, that's when he gets a little dejected and sulky. He can't be a good boyfriend until he figures out what's wrong, so he doesn't understand why you won't help him figure it out. And if, plus when he does, it also doesn't understand why you were even calling him in the first place. Probably asks you something like, "Do you not want to call me baby anymore?" Or even, "I really like Suki, And that's when you have to start feeling bad too, because it just seems so sad. All he wants is love, and he promises, he swears that it's not like he's busy or ignoring you on purpose. That being said though, I can also see it going that you call him Midoriya and he only noticed a few seconds after you end the conversation, always such that he gets up and chases you down the hall to ask you why you call him that. He'll even call you on the phone if you already left. And if you don't pick up, the message looks like something like, Hi sweetie, just calling with a quick question. Did you call me Midoriya earlier? If you did, that's okay, I guess. Makes me kinda sad, but it's not a big deal. Anyway, call me back soon, I love you. Oh my gosh, and poor baby. You call him by his last name during an argument, and everything stops. He's immediately dropping whatever topic you're fighting about to ask you why you're calling him that and if you really meant it. His number one nightmare is that he stopped being your baby. So even if you're just saying it to get him to take your frustration seriously in a fight, it works. Shoto Todoroki. Todoroki is like simultaneously better and worse than both Bakugo and Deku. Definitely embodies the same weird first name basis intimacy ideas as Bakugo, but isn't as needy about it as either of them. Very logical, in that when you call him by his last name, you always assume that it's probably some kind of slip up or that you're trying to express something to him. However, it doesn't usually end up asking what's wrong if you end up switching back to his first name or pet name relatively quickly. Doesn't catch that it could just be a joke or a tease in the first place. If you don't stop, however, it's definitely going to give you some gentle reminder that you're calling him by the wrong thing. Shoto, remember? Or, Todoroki is what you call my brother. You actually probably call Natsuo, but that's not the point. You could even say, are you forgetting something, sweetheart? This dude is not slick at all. I also think that because of Todoroki upbringing, both in the strict and traditional senses, it probably takes you guys the longest to actually get to the first name for him than the others. Not just that it's any more or less, there's a bit more nuance in processing he has to go through every time his last name comes up. He definitely thinks that once you start calling each other by your first names, there should be no real reason to stop. Which is why he's so confused as to why you even joke about it anyway. Especially because you never expressed to him that you're having relationship doubts and the both of you just still use pet names. Which is why he doesn't hesitate to at least try to politely correct you when he doesn't like when you're calling him. Calling Todoroki when you're arguing though, and things are a bit different. Depending on how heated everything is and whether or not you're actually communicating, the more frustrated it gets. His reminder definitely morphs into demand in that whenever you call him Todoroki, just like Bakugo, he's instantly responding with Shoto, or with some sort of pet names he likes. Literally will not proceed with the conversation until you call him the first name. Literally will not proceed the conversation until you call him the name that he wants to hear. And when he does finally catch on to when you're messing with him, he does the same things then too. Like, he'll literally be holding your hand and will stop you from walking further until you tell him what's wrong or call him the right thing. He's such a baby. Ejiro Kirishima. Kirishima, I can see it going both ways. I think because it's such a friendly guy that he's actually pretty used to being called Kirishima or even just Kiri. So if you tend to stick to that, especially more so in public, he's not really going to be too bothered by it. That being said though, if you randomly go from Ejiro or some random pet name to exclusively Kirishima, and if it seems like you're doing it on purpose and overly consistent, well, it definitely starts getting a bit confused. Probably doesn't ask you about it at first, especially if you only use it one time and laugh whenever you do. But after a while, if you start using it too much, Kiri will get more and more frustrated as time goes on. It's just not sure if you're trying to tell him something, and if so, what that is. Honestly, it probably gets to the point where he even thought he doesn't want to. He knows that he has to be manly and talk to you about it, at least to ensure that nothing is wrong. And when he actually does, he calls you by your last name too. And that's how you know it's serious and that you better stop. Because Kiri seems so sad when he asks you about it. And when he then hesitates to call you babe or something sweet too. Despite all this, the issue can be fixed relatively quick with an explanation. Maybe you were just pranking him or thought he knew you were joking around. But as long as you promise it doesn't mean anything personal, it bounces back up pretty quick. As for a lot of makeup kisses though. However, his last name still has a little bit of power over him. Because if you call him by his last name in an argument, he's immediately straightening up. Instantly goes quiet and looks to you for your next word, knowing that now, if you're not trying to mess with him, that is, it really just means that you want to talk business rather than that you hate him. Besides, you do that thing where do you look at him with puppy dog eyes while asking, Kirishima? Yeah, you're getting whatever the fuck you want.
The soul, I gotta be on the soul, yeah.